Well, hey everyone, welcome to our Advent devotion series. Today, our reading comes from Genesis 3:15, and to kind of set it up, I want to let you know that today is all about the waiting for a promise that there will be somebody to put an end to evil and the one who causes evil. So we're waiting for a promise that there will be somebody to put an end to evil and the one who causes evil. And so before I even read the passage, I think it would be helpful for us to understand evil and how the Bible presents evil. So I want to provide for us a definition of evil. Evil is deception that destroys life and goodness. Deception that destroys life and goodness. That's how we can think about evil. And so we actually see this play out all the way at the beginning of Scripture. Like in the book of Genesis, in Genesis chapter 3, we see God gave Adam and Eve a command that they gave them this amazing place to live. God gave them this amazing place to live. He gave them the garden, and he loved them. He cared for them. They walked with God in that garden. It was a place of abundance. It was a place of peace. But God said, you should not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. If you eat of it, you will surely die. And so God gave them that command. And in Genesis chapter 3, along comes this deceiver, the serpent. And he lies to Eve and tells her that if you eat of the tree, you and Adam will be like God. If you eat of the tree, you will not surely die. He tells Eve all of these lies and convinces her to disobey, and convinces Adam as well to disobey God. The two of them disobey and break God's commands and destroy goodness and introduce death into creation. That's what happens. And so Genesis 3:15 gives this promise about, and it's actually, this promise comes in the form of a curse against this serpent, this liar, this deceiver. And this is what it says in Genesis 3:15. It says, I will put enmity between you and the woman, and between your offspring and her offspring. He shall bruise your head, and you shall bruise his heel. The idea that's being presented here is that there is one who is coming, who is going to destroy this evil deceiver, who's going to crush this evil deceiver. And that all that the serpent is going to be able to do is really make a small mark on this person's heel. So this person who's coming, he's coming to bring an end to evil. Now, so we see this evil, play out in the garden by introducing death into creation, by bringing in disobedience, right? Because they believe the lies, they believe the deception. But as we look through the story of Scripture, we see this deception play out in other ways of destroying life and goodness. As we look at the nations, the story of the nations, what we see is the story of people who are deceived into following after false gods and false idols. And what those false gods and false idols lead people to do is that they lead them to do abhorrent things. To do things like killing children, to do things like devaluing the poor who are among them, not caring for them, oppressing people. As we look at the story of idols across the nations in the Old Testament, what we see is every time that people follow idols, death and destruction follow after that. Right? So they're deceived into following after idols. And then we actually, even in the story of Israel, we see that Israel is deceived into following after these very same idols. And what do we see introduced into Israel except death and destruction as a result of that destruction of life and destruction of goodness. And so this is all the result of evil. And that carries on even into our own day today, where we see people are deceived into following after false gods. People deceived into lies about what is ultimate. So if you believe that the lie that what is ultimate for you is a feel-good experience, then that might ultimately lead to addiction for you. And that addiction would ruin families. It ruins relationships, right? It leaves destruction in its path. If you believe the lie that material wealth is ultimate for you and you follow that as your God, you are going to hoard resources And as a result of you hoarding your resources, you're going to neglect your neighbor and mistreat other people. Right? If you believe the lie that political power is what is ultimate, it's what will help you achieve your ends, then you know what you're going to do is you're going to justify all kinds of wrongdoing if it means that your particular candidate or your particular position gets to be in power. If you're going to believe the lie that personal comfort is what is ultimate for you, then what that would lead to is like an apathetic response to people around you who have needs, to a world around you that needs hope. Right? Ultimately, what happens is that we see all of these lies lead to and carry out in our world death and destruction. And this is the same story that was happening in Scripture. So in Genesis 3:15, when you get this promise that there's going to be enmity between you and the woman, between your offspring and her offspring, it's this promise to the serpent that there is one who is coming who will ultimately destroy you. It's a curse upon the deceiver, saying there is a one who is coming who is going to put an end to you, who will undo you, and as a result, undo the result of all of your evil carried out in creation. Evil is going to be done away with, and the evil one, the deceiver, will be done away with. This is the promise, and the way it's going to happen is through the coming of a person in the future. That's what he's saying in Genesis 3:15. And as we look at the story of Israel, we read about a promised Messiah who, yes, is coming to establish a kingdom, but who's going to be the one who would put an end to evil, who will bring about peace and goodness in the world. And we know today that promised Messiah is Jesus. Jesus is the one who came. And what did he do? But he made it possible for the power of evil in our lives, those of us who trust him, those of us who follow him, the power of evil and the power of deception over us has been destroyed. And Colossians says it like this: we have been transferred from the kingdom of darkness into the kingdom of light, into the kingdom of his beloved Son. Like, that's actually what happened. The power of evil over us has been broken. And not only do we have that promise, but we have the promise as well that Jesus is coming back. Jesus is coming back to undo evil in this world. He will put an end to all kinds of evil, and he will destroy the evil one, the one who was deceiving, the one who introduced lies into creation, the one through whom death was able to come into creation. He will end the evil one. He will crush his head. So church, this is an amazing hope. Because what it means is that all of the evil that we see in our world will be undone because we have a good Messiah who has come, and he is coming again. This is what we're waiting for. So for our devotional reflection for today, I want to ask you a question. As a result of this promise about one who is coming to undo evil and the evil one, my question for you to reflect on throughout your day today is this: what expression of evil in our world are you longing to see Jesus put an end to? What expression of evil in our world are you longing to see Jesus put an end to? And I want to just invite you to take comfort in the promise that he will, in fact, end it. And goodness and peace and mercy will reign in the world.